Hi guys, I am Mama Bear to Many. I am mom to 14 children. 12 of those children are still at home. Yes, I'm noticing now that I can see myself that my glasses are indeed crooked. Can you see? They kind of go like this. This eyebrow is not higher than the other eyebrow. My glasses are crooked because somebody stepped on them. So, anyhow, we are going to go over some things today. I have been asked why we eat what we eat, and I have also been given suggestions on different things that we may eat or why we don't eat a certain way and that type of stuff. So I thought that I would take a minute and tell you why we eat the way we eat, why we changed, and all that. Whatever, hoorah. So we eat. We don't eat paleo. We don't eat. I don't know. It's really weird because people want like a label. Sorry, moving up in life. I'm trying to hide out here because kids are coming in and out and running around and having a good time. It's sunny out today, so now they're trying to run around. Um, so, uh, so why we eat the way that we eat? What do we eat? I'm trying to think. So, we used to eat fairly good. So I grew up not eating good at all, like at all. Like a Hostess pie might be like my supper. I do not eat very well at all. And I still have a sweet tooth. I don't know if it's because of that or whatever, but I still have a sweet tooth. Anyhow. So, um fast forward, I learned how to cook, and then over the years I learned how to cook, and then I would cook things like tacos and chili and those types of things. And I learned how to do all those types of things, and I am thankful that I learned how to do those types of things. But then my son got sick. My son that just passed, he got sick and we were in the hospital. They were trying all these different antibiotics on him, and and none of the antibiotics were working, and we didn't know what the heck to do. We were just like, why is this not working? And they said, well, he's built up an antibiotic resistance to antibiotics. And I said, well, what is that? How does that happen? And they didn't really want to answer my question. So I started to research it myself. What was an antibiotic resistance? How would somebody get antibiotic resistance? So that's when I started researching everything. And so I started looking it up. And I didn't realize that there was antibiotics in a lot of the food that we had. So we really changed our diet then. I started growing a lot of things homemade. That's the time that I watched the movie Food Incorporated. I also started buying non-GMO things, and I just kind of grew over the years. This is probably like a 10-year span from like 10 years ago till now. And so then I started grinding my own bread, making my own bread. Then we started having some sensitivities to the wheat. And so I switched over to either icorn or spelt flour. And that was good for a while. My son did really well. We're a fairly healthy family, I want to say. We really are a fairly healthy family overall. We might get a cold or something, but usually it's like resolved within a day or two. And colds are good for your immune system, right? Like you need to get a cold in order to build an immunity against that same like cold or whatever. So um, we did fairly well. And so let's just say I was like a homemade type mama. So we would have, and we started homesteading, so we would have raw milk and we would have like einkorn flour bread, and I would bake all of our sweets. And let's see, we would make all of our meals from scratch. I would make sandwiches out of homegrown wheat bread. I would let's see. A lot of things would still have cheese on, like quite a bit of cheese on them, like casseroles covered in cheese, like that type of stuff. Tacos, like loaded with cheese. All these types of things. And some of it would be raw cheese, some of it would just be store bought cheese. Um, Some butter would be raw, some butter would be store bought. So that was kind of like our lifestyle. We still had, if you want to call it fun, and have like ice cream or whatever, like treats or whatever for the kids and that type of stuff. But overall, we had a fairly good diet, right? And so that's how we lived from that time. I just kind of grew through, and then my son passed. This is March of 2023. My son passed in February of 2022. And right after my son passed, there were some medical things that were going on with my son prior to, well, not really prior to. Um, I'm trying not to be like rude or whatever, but there were some things that weren't correct before his death in the medical system. And because of that, I got my mama bear out. And so my son had passed, and one of my children had some health issues that were not being addressed. And I went to the doctor's office and I said, "No, you are going to tell me what is going on with my daughter, blah, 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 blah." And I would not give in to, "Oh, this is normal." No, it's not normal. This person's this age and this is not normal. So I said, I'm done. I'm done letting people like no. I mean, 3 days before my son died, they told me he had anxiety and everything was fine. 3 days. Well, not 3 days before he died. 3 days before I found him unresponsive. He lived another couple days in the hospital. But then they refused to treat him the way that I asked him to be treated. So, that to say, I was done. I was done with the medical system. I wanted to find out what was going on with her. And so we went to a rheumatologist after we ran a bunch of blood tests. There was so many things going on, they couldn't really tell us what was going on. We went to a rheumatologist and they gave her some heart medicine, which played havoc in it all. Like, so she had some issues and it made it worse. And so we were like, okay, they still wanted her to take it. They're like, oh, maybe you need more. And so, or maybe you need to have chemotherapy. And I'm like, okay, well, killing all the cells in your body through chemotherapy doesn't seem like the best solution when you don't even know exactly what is causing this. So we went to another rheumatologist in the meantime. So he died in February, and I was pregnant. I was 7 months pregnant, and I had my baby April 11th. So for March, April, so less than 2 months after he died, I gave birth to a baby girl. Her name is Rejoice Hope. My son, he had a ministry called Sitting with Hope Ministries. You can still check it out on Facebook if you'd like to. That was his ministry. And before he died, I felt like the Lord just gave me that name. And so I actually told him before he died, what her name was going to be, because I felt like that was supposed to be her name, that we needed to rejoice in the hope that we can one day be together again. His last words, my son's last words, were together. And so it was really like meaningful for me. So this mama bear was not taken lightly to what the doctors were saying to her. So we ended up traveling. We ended up having a camping trip in order to travel down to the doctors where she needed to be. And we went down to the doctors and had her seen. And that rheumatologist was a lot better. But during this whole thing, I had a baby who was transverse, which means lies like this way across your tummy. And I had my chiropractor flip another baby around who was breech before. So he did the Weber technique and flipped her. And so she flipped, and my My daughter, who is having issues, also had an x-ray to see because her spine was off. And so we did that, and she started seeing the chiropractor just to see the chiropractor for those types of things, like a scoliosis type situation in her back. And so we didn't realize that through our chiropractor's office, I knew that he did acupuncture, but I didn't realize that there was another person in the office who was doing some other natural things. So we decided in that time period to take a look at some things. So we went down there. They said basically that they're just going to watch her and hopefully it doesn't get worse, but that she had 5 different autoimmune diseases. And I'm like, why does she have 5 different autoimmune diseases? I was cooking healthy. Like, seriously, I made my own bread once a week. I cooked this and I felt like a failure as a mom, honestly. Like, I felt like I was doing all the right things, like I'm trying to make the best things for her and for my family so that they can eat healthily. And so I thought I had been doing that the whole time. And so I was kind of down on myself, but at the same time, I had so much of that like mama bear, like, oh, I just want to figure this out. That I was like determined to figure out what else we could do. It kind of slipped up when we were at the chiropractor, and he's like, oh, have you seen my dad? And we're like, no, why do we need to see your dad? And so he did an evaluation on my daughter, who in turn had Lyme disease. So she has Lyme disease, which could possibly be causing all 5 of these autoimmune issues. So currently we are treating the Lyme disease. So, sorry, I'm trying to fight off a cold. Can you tell it's like drippy in the back of my throat and it's really annoying. So my little kids, we came back from the trip, and my little kids, they like, my youngest daughter, she's had a runny nose, and she was just like all over me. Mom, I need to snuggle. I'm scared. I need to snuggle with you. So I gave her lots of snuggles. What else does a mom do? So she that was what was going on. So we evaluated her, and in order to treat the Lyme disease, we needed to change the diet. And to change her diet, it is recommended that you get rid of any inflammatory type things. Her inflammation levels were so high. And I'm like, I thought I was doing the right thing. So the diet that was changed to was doesn't actually have a name. I mean, everyone wants me to say, "Oh, I'm paleo, I'm AIP, I'm whole food, I'm whatever." It doesn't actually have a name. It's that gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, and corn can only be non-GMO corn. So that is basically the diet. She can have rice and other starches. So when we first started out, I started out full paleo. And I struggle with my milk supply, and my husband struggles with weight. He's super skinny, and he works really hard, and he has a really high metabolism, so he needs lots of calories. And so my husband can easily eat, 3,000 to 3,500 calories a day without gaining an ounce. Like, it's really hard to like put any weight on him. So I was losing my milk supply on paleo, and my husband was getting thinner and thinner. So we added back things like the grains and those types of things. Especially for me, for oatmeal was a huge one that has helped with my supply. So oatmeal and some of the grains and stuff. Now, am I losing any weight? No. Do I wish I was losing weight? Yeah, some days not, and I don't really care. But that is where we are at. So we just do the best that we can. That's my heater. I have this at like it's actually my laptop, and I have you at like a really weird angle, but I thought that I would like just sneak in my bedroom and try to make a video real quick because we have a not so big house and people are loud. So our diet is that. So I appreciate comments of saying maybe you could try this or maybe you can try that. We're just in a season that this is where we're at, and honestly, a lot of things have cleared up. Eczema has cleared up on a lot of people, um, which quite a few people had eczema, and so that was really good. So I'm okay with this diet for right now. I am now that we are, let's see, it was July. So we're like 7 months in, something like that. Now I'm starting to really think about, before all I could handle was just that. Just figuring out different foods to go and um make a meal with, because it's such a huge change, and to fill people up and to make it work. And if you've ever been to the grocery store and you try to find anything that doesn't say soy in it, it is ridiculous. Like salad dressings and mayonnaise and everything has soy in it. And it kind of makes you wonder why. Like, why does everything have soy in it? I don't know. Why does everything have soy in it when soy is it's like a hormone regulator? If you'd call it a regulator. It affects your hormones though. So I don't understand why soy isn't everything if it like affects your hormones, because that's probably not good. That probably would, you know, if people get PMS and they're having soy, is that going to help or is that going to hurt? If they always have soy and then get PMS, is that going to help or hurt? If it's an estrogen dominance and you're giving it to males and females, how's that going to affect things? I don't know. Lots of unknown questions, but I didn't realize soy was in so many things. So, yeah, so for the first little bit, I just had to figure out, let me just, figure out how to feed my family. So now I feel like I'm okay, I got this. Most of the time I got this, says the mom who just ate Cadbury eggs, right? But the everyone else didn't have Cadbury eggs, just me. Which have soy in them, by the way, and dairy. But did you know that you can buy, this was the coolest thing ever. Did you know that you can buy chocolate chips that don't have milk in them? That might make a mama happy. Anyhow, everyone needs a little chocolate in their life. But yeah, you can buy chocolate chips that don't have, it's called Enjoy Life is one of the brands. I think Nestle has a brand too that I've bought before. It just depends. So that made me happy. That makes me happy, happy, happy. So now I'm at a point that I want to incorporate some fermented foods. And I was starting to get into fermented foods prior to all of this. I was starting to get into like soaking my grains, and I was getting into sourdough a bit, and I was getting into like kombucha and sauerkraut and those types of things. And then once this happened, I just stopped like full throttle. Like, I can't do this. So I started a kombucha. I'm making a SCOBY, which I will, when it's made into a SCOBY, then I will do the whole video on that, because I did part of the video and then I gotta wait until it actually does it. I make a SCOBY out of apple cider vinegar on my own, instead of like buying a SCOBY or figuring it out at the grocery store or from somebody or whatever, because I don't know anyone that has one at this present moment. So, and I'm experimenting with a sourdough starter for gluten-free. And so we are going to try those things and try to our gut health is really important. He did check and she doesn't have leaky gut or anything like that, which is awesome. She didn't have a like a yeast overgrowth or anything like that. It seems like it was the Lyme disease that's causing a lot of these things. And a lot of times, if you guys don't know this, tragedy, stress, can make something that maybe was asleep in your body just rage itself out, right? So she had all these things, but she didn't have any signs of any of these things. Um, it was just coming up and her blood work looked horrible, and we had to try to figure it out. So, why don't I just have her eat one way and then we eat the rest of the way? Honestly, in the beginning, it was that I just needed to figure out how to feed her. And so I just wanted to it was too much to think to make like 2 different meals or something like that. It was too much for me. I just wanted to find a few simple meals that I could cook that would be okay for her. And that's where I started. And so I did that. But then I started to notice such a difference in everyone else that I wanted to keep that, especially the wheat. I find that the wheat is really, really a trigger. We are starting to a little bit invite cheese back in and or some dairy back in, not necessarily cheese, but occasionally I'll have like my husband, he has cheese. I'll buy cheese like for him because he really needs lots of fat. And he's trying not to eat as much gluten. And when you don't have gluten or cheese, it's really hard to like keep your weight and that type of stuff. If you eat too much fat, then you get skinny. So anyhow, that is where we're at. I am just a mom, you know? I'm just a mom trying to do the best for my kids. I'm not saying that our diet is the perfect diet in the world. I'm not saying that I have it all figured out. I'm not saying that I'm right. We're just a work in progress. I'm just like you, and we are just trying to figure out the needs of our family. So when you see us at the grocery store and we're doing a haul and most of it is good and then I have like a bag of M&Ms, sometimes I might have a child that's potty training and is going to have M&Ms. It might be a holiday coming up and I plan on letting the little kids do this or that. I'm okay with that. That's the season that I'm at. And so I don't know if this was like depressing, informative. I don't know. I feel like I'm ready for a nap. So I don't know if I really like, not that I actually nap, although I'm like in my bed, unmade bed. Okay. I never make beds. I never have made beds. I think because my husband used to work crazy hours and overnights and whatever, and I never like decided to make the bed because he was usually in it when I wasn't in it. So it never really made sense. And now I usually like the kids just two of my kids come in here during nap time, so they're gonna mess it up. And then I'll lay the baby I kinda, like, lay the baby down, like, if she's gonna nap in the bed, and then I, like, put pillows and stuff around her and whatever, so there. Mom to 14 doesn't make a bed, that's the name of this video.